Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com. The government has received a thumbs up from members of the business community for not imposing any new taxes for the 2018-19 fiscal year, which begins on April 1. The private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, and the Jamaica Manufacturers Association, JMA, say this is a move in the right direction. However, JMA President Mitri Siaga says manufacturers are still concerned about the growth component of the economy.
As we have said from the beginning and continue to say, we feel that manufacturing is the way to achieve growth. So we encourage the government to put more of their efforts into the manufacturing industry, and they will see the elusive growth that they have been looking for.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister Audley says the country will still be able to meet its targets with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, notwithstanding no new taxes. Mr. Shaw was speaking at the latest IMF media briefing this morning at the office of the Prime Minister.
No, not at all. The issue is that, where we have arrived at, it's not accidental. There's been a considerable amount of emphasis placed on fiscal consolidation and fiscal responsibility. And at the same time, we have been stressing compliance as an area that really needs work and needs even more work now. And that's what I'm going to be concentrating on this new fiscal year.
2 persons were killed in a 4-vehicle collision on the Rose Hall Main Road in St. James last night. Their identities have not been released. The incident occurred about 8:45. It involved 3 Honda Civic motor cars and a Toyota wagon. The driver and passenger from one of the Honda Civics died, while 4 other persons who were in other vehicles were taken to hospital for treatment. Acting head of the Highway and Traffic Division, Superintendent Courtney Kubri, said 2 of the motor cars were heading towards Trelawney, while the other 2 vehicles were heading in the opposite direction towards Montego Bay in St. James.
It is reported that the 2 Honda Civic that was heading towards Trelawney collided. They went across the median, and one of the Honda Civic went into the part of the Regis bus that was traveling to Mobile and collided. The 2 persons were aboard. The driver and the occupant received serious injuries.
The driver of one of the Honda Civics died at the scene, while his passenger died en route to hospital. A Kingston man who blinded his common-law wife in one eye during a domestic dispute 5 months ago was denied bail yesterday when he appeared before the St. Andrew Parish Court. The accused man, Alan Williams, was remanded following strong objections from prosecutors who said he was captured last month after being on the run. Prosecutors reported that in November, Mr. Williams and his common-law wife were at their home in East Kingston when they had a dispute over a cell phone. He reportedly threw the phone, which hit her in one of her eyes. She has since lost sight in that eye. Mr. Williams, who filed the complaint, was captured on February 26. He's facing a charge of assault occasioning grievous bodily harm. The matter is expected to be transferred to the Home Circuit Court. Mr. Williams is to return to court on April 16. In St. Thomas, Councillor for the White Horses Division, Hubert Williams, says he is worried about the recent spike in crime across that parish. 11 persons have been killed since January. Speaking at the latest meeting of the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, Mr. Williams pointed to a vehicle shortage at police stations across the parish, which continues to impact crime. The concern was raised after Councillor for the Dalvey Division, Michael McLeod, detailed a recent case in his area where a man was shot during a robbery and was reportedly unable to get assistance from the police.
On Saturday night, when gentleman, they robbed the man and shoot off his finger. The citizens have seen the 2 while on the road and call, and then call the police station. They don't have a vehicle, they have to wait until Portmore or Martin or Bath come to their assistance. Somebody, a civilian, have to assist them with a vehicle to go and see if they could have catch the perpetrator. But
now, with the country recording over 200 murders since the start of the year, the business community in Manchester is seeking to do its part in stemming the increase in criminal activities. The latest initiative by the Manchester business community, led by its Chamber of Commerce, is a crime tip fund which was launched in tandem with the Manchester Police. President of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce, MCOC Garfield Green, noted that the fund has been established so residents will be able to provide information on criminal elements within the parish. He further mentioned that already persons have been using the fund.
And already there is a first reward of $35,000 by the police for a person of interest.
The individual being sought is Demar Scott, who the police have asked to turn himself in relation to a number of rapes in the parish last year. The police say although he was asked to turn himself in, Mr. Scott continues to elude them. The information was shared at a recent MCOC meeting. Opposition spokesman on transport, Michael Phillips, is calling on Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the Science and Technology Minister, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, to speak to the shortage of asphalt island-wide. This, as plans for a $1.3 billion road rehabilitation project was announced in Parliament recently. Mr. Phillips says the shortage needs to be explained.
It is now causing a problem island-wide, and we think that there are some answers that the Minister himself of Works, who is the Prime Minister himself, and Minister Wheatley need to answer to the Jamaican people on the issues that are affecting Petrojam, which is now causing our roadways and the repair to our roadways to be not being done on a timely basis.
He, however, labelled comments by Minister Everard Warmington in Parliament as mere excuses.
In Parliament, that was given by Minister Warmington, that many of these contracts have not been signed yet because these small contractors have not been able to give their insurance bonds. But outside of that, it is a lack of supply. So many of the patching programs, and we as members of Parliament have been getting calls from our constituents and just wider public in why is it that these contracts have been announced and no work is being done.
Mr. Phillips was speaking with TVJ News in Mandeville earlier this week. With the commissioning of several renewable energy facilities over the past few years, the government says it is ahead of its target of 20% of the country's electricity being generated from renewable by 2030. Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley credited the commissioning of several new facilities for the current position. These include Blue Mountain Renewables' 36-megawatt wind farm, commissioned in 2016, and a license issued to 8 Rivers in Westmoreland in 2017 to produce 37 megawatts of solar energy to the grid at 8.54 US cents per kilowatt hour.
The pace at which we are implementing these renewables, we are far ahead of our target. And as such, we have now upped that target to 30% of our electricity coming from renewable sources.
In addition to surpassing the 20% target, Dr. Wheatley says consumers will soon feel the benefits of the increased production of electricity from renewables.
What is really happening here is that we are not only developing our own independence from an energy perspective, but also we are generating electricity at a relatively low price. And so that will translate into cheaper costs of electricity. It will encourage manufacturers and more investments into our country, creating more employment opportunities for our people.
Dr. Wheatley was speaking at the relaunch of the JPS Foundation Energy Club on Wednesday. The Early Childhood Commission is calling for additional charities to assist early childhood institutions across Jamaica become certified and fully registered. Mobay City Run is one such charity that has been instrumental in aiding 4 schools across Western Jamaica to meet the requirements of being certified as an early childhood institution. Over the past 4 years, Mobile City Run has given $15 million to early childhood development. 111 institutions are fully certified as registered early childhood institutions. 2,433 have applied for certification out of the 2,700 that exist across the country. The Early Childhood Commission is stressing the importance of institutions meeting the requirements and being certified.
We also require that schools are fully fenced. It is important. In one instance in St. Elizabeth, a school wasn't fully fenced. Dogs went on the premises, goats went on the premises, and one of the goats headbutted a small 3-year-old, and the child lost an eye. Can we replace an eye? And so we depend on charitable institutions to assist our schools.
News overseas, President Donald Trump has accepted a decision to meet with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. The meeting, if it goes ahead, would mark an unmatched moment of history in the 70-year standoff between both nations. We have the details from the CNN.
In a stunning turn of events, North Korea's dictator has offered to suspend nuclear missile tests and invited President Donald Trump to meet. South Korea's national security advisor delivered the message from Kim Jong-un to Trump Thursday.
I explained to President Trump that his leadership and his maximum pressure policy, together with international solidarity, brought us to this juncture.
Catching many off guard, Trump delivered the news by popping his head into the White House briefing room earlier to tease that a major announcement was coming from South Korea.
President Trump appreciated the briefing and said he would meet Kim Jong-un by May to achieve permanent denuclearization.
While the meeting sounds hopeful, the South Korean delegation says it remains cautiously optimistic.
The Republic of Korea, the United States, and our partners stand together in insisting that we not repeat the mistakes of the past, and that the pressure will continue until North Korea matches its words with concrete actions.
We go on to sports. While the Mortimer Geddes Trophy will be the main focus for male teams at the upcoming Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletic Championships, there are some small battles that could help determine its resting place for the next 12 months. One of those battles could come in the boys' Class 1 400-meter hurdles come the night of March 23. The details in this report.
The move was taken in 2017 to divide the boys' 400-meter hurdles open into Classes 1 and 2. Jeremy Farr of Wilmers had then accepted the challenge in Class 2, while St. Jacob's Timur Barrett secured Class 1 for the Monk Street-based school. A year later, the Class 1 title will be watched with great anticipation.
Well, this season, the Class 1 400-meter hurdles isn't as wide open as you'd want to think, but Javon James from Stets has been running well all season. Malik James King of Calabar, those two have been the top two men. But there's Philip Lamonius from Jamaica College, who has been having a fantastic season. 51, sub 52 seconds, 51.4, I believe his best time so far this season, so he'll have a lot to say.
Farr, the Class 2 winner last year, may be some way off his best in recent weeks, but with the champs nearing, he's still a prospect for a medal. And he's not alone.
People are expecting a lot from Jeremy Farr. Hasn't been at his best finish down the track at the corporate area development meet. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets ready for a championship. And there's also Rovain Williams from Rhodes Hall. He will be in the mix as well.
Only 3 medals are on offer. And with 5 names already in the hat, no one can afford to play things safe.
It's not done and dusted, but the top 2 at this point, Malik James King and Javon James, they seem to be the 2 who are expected to be at top of the podium. The record is safe, 49.01, won't go anywhere anytime soon, but I expect it to be a very fast final.
Calabar's Malik James King, 2 weeks from champs, is being picked ahead of the field, and with a personal best of 50.59 in winning the under-20 section at the Carifta Trials, seemed to be on course to better his 8th place finish in 2017. But only time and the clock will tell. The March 20 to 24 Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships will be shown live on TVJ, TVJSN and OneSpotMedia.com with extensive coverage on Hits 92 FM.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the primetime news package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.